Good morning. Good morning, Escape from Crazytown fans and YouTube family. Good to see you guys here. Welcome to Happy Crappy Hour. Michelle, good to see you. And Obi, good morning. Rye Shines, good to see you. Glad you guys are hopping on. Yeah, Michelle says, I hope they are haunted by their pasts. They deserve to be, as they are so cruel. Yes, and it does come back to haunt them. I am going to be talking about that today with you guys. We're going to be sharing our stories, of course, and helping each other to learn, live better, heal, and move on, right? We're going to have a great life because we've got our community and we have the support we need. So, you guys, welcome, welcome. So glad that you are here today. We are going to, let me see, I have so many things going on right now that I want to talk about. Oh yeah, so incredible because you want to expose these psycho narcissists, right? You want to expose their schemes and currently right now, oh my gosh, you guys, in local politics, yep. I don't pay complete attention, but I pay some attention, right? I just watch when they testify in Congress, our state Congress. I watch some of the things they say, and what I need to start doing, or what citizens need to start doing, is writing down what they actually say, and yeah, keeping them accountable. Because although narcissists or past haunt them, these politicians, they get away with things because they figure they can behave whatever way they want, and nobody will go back into their past to check and see what they've said before or what they've done before. But I guess thanks to technology, some of that's catching up with them, and some people are paying attention. So some of their past is coming back now to haunt them. So yay, amen to that. Well, you guys, we are going to be talking about how this even affects us, right? How does the haunting of a past haunt us? What does that have to do with us? So before we even get started on that, I wanted to ask you guys to please give me a thumbs up. Please make comments at the end of the video. Watch a couple of commercials on my channel if you get on some of these other videos, and share my videos. So mention that I'm out there, you guys. So I appreciate that, just to get it going, keep it going, and hopefully we'll still be around for a while to support one another. So good morning, John Bailey. Good to see you. Yep, Obi says I became a 20-year survivor, and karma is real. You reap what you sow. Yeah, right, Obi? And that's why I want to make sure that you guys are sowing good seeds right now. Because if you are sowing bad seeds, it's going to come back and haunt you. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because the haunting, the past, the narcissist's past is going to haunt them. But your past does not have to haunt you. Your past with the narcissist does not have to haunt you. And we want to figure out how, right? We want to figure out how to avoid that. And yeah, so we're gonna get into that. But Happy Crappy Hour is about what you've been experiencing this week. That's been good, so we want to keep doing that. And what you've experienced this week that's bad. And of course, we don't want to do those things anymore. So for me, let me see, this week. Oh gosh, I, I think some of my friends may hear this. So I went out with some friends one day this week. I got invited to a kind of breakfast brunch type of thing, right, at a restaurant. So we go, and I had a friend pick me up because I knew I'm like right on the way to this restaurant. So they pick me up. I get there, or we get there, and lo and behold, I did not realize that this breakfast brunch thing was going to turn into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, I have some friends who love to sit around and catch up and pretty much just socialize all day long. And they don't do it all the time, but when they do, I guess, they've told me they do these things, and I'm like, oh, I've never been there. Not really interested in doing that. Anyway, so here I am sitting there 4 hours later. I'm still there. Why am I still here? But I have a ride. So I asked my ride, hey, are you thinking of leaving anytime soon? Or anyway, And she said, sure, she asked if I wanted to leave. And then it occurred to me, maybe she doesn't want to leave and you know, she feels guilty or something. So I told her, if you don't want to leave, it's okay. And she's like, of course she took off her jacket right away. So I was like, okay, she doesn't want to leave. So I start making phone calls. I start texting actually. Some other, I started texting my husband, but also another friend that I knew was nearby. And they were both in meetings and I was like, no. So I was stuck there for another hour and 40 minutes. You guys, I was there for almost 6 hours. Yes, almost 6 hours. So this was my crappy, okay, you guys? When I went, I did not expect this to be a 6 hour plus thing. I thought maybe 2 hours, two and a half, tops. And I started getting a headache. Weather was rolling in. And that's generally when I start to get a headache, is when the barometric pressure comes in. And I was just thinking, okay, I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but I got to get out of here. So anyway, my husband finally was able to get a break between meetings and came and got me. So thank the Lord. So that was my crappy. It was good because I enjoyed my time with my friends, but it was crappy because I got myself into this situation where I did not have a ride home. So I learned from that, you guys. Next time I'm with specifically this group, but probably even other groups, I think I'm going to have to clarify how long are we going to be staying, especially if I'm catching a ride, right? And then otherwise bring my own car so that I can get out of there. And I think several of us have been caught like that with a narcissist, right? We can't leave because we're stuck. We're reliant on the narcissist. And I've talked about this before, where you can't rely on the narcissist when they say they're going to pick you up at the airport and then they don't, or they're going to pick up something for you and then they don't, or they're going to bring you something and then they don't. And I've shared those stories before. I had a narcissist friend who was going to pick up this elderly lady to our brunch, right? I often would have brunches at my house. Um, and so I asked him if, on his way, would he pick up this elderly lady? And of course, he doesn't. And she calls me, we're well into the brunch, about an hour, and or actually even maybe at the beginning of the brunch, and she calls me and asked if he was coming to pick her up, and so I called him, and he said, yeah, I'm gonna come get her. I'm like, all right, well, they're gonna be late. But then you know half an hour later she calls me again. Oh, he still hasn't shown up. And I call him again and he says, yeah, I'm on my way. And then, you know what, after an hour of that, my husband went in the middle of our brunch with other guests here, went and picked her up. And finally, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours later, the narcissist shows up. And he had been drinking. And, I wasn't condescending. I wasn't, what do you call it, disciplining him or anything. But it's obvious that he feels like he's going to get a butt whipping, right? But so he says to me something like, oh, are you embarrassed that, what is it? Did I embarrass you? I'm like, what the heck? Why would he even, why would I be embarrassed? So I said to him, no, I'm not embarrassed, but you're the one who would be embarrassed, I would think. So I think he just was shocked that I even said that and realized, like, yeah, why would I be embarrassed? He's the one he should be embarrassed. Anyway, because the rest of the guests realized, like, what a jerk he was being by not picking up this elderly lady that had to stand out in the cold waiting for him. Yeah, what a turd, right? So never ever do that again. These are lessons we learn when we get ourselves into situations where we're relying on a narcissist, and sometimes not even a narcissist. We just happen to be in a situation where we thought our friends were going to do something, but we never clarified with them. So definitely clarify with them. Definitely set boundaries. You have from this time to that time. Are we going to finish by this time? Don't just make assumptions. So that's a lesson I learned. Again, a hard time, the hard way. You think, as you get older, that you know people better, you can read them better, you've been even out with these people before and it never lasted more than 2.5 hours. And even in those situations, if you're relying on someone to drive you, absolutely set the boundaries and make sure you know what the expectations are. So that was my lesson this week from my crappy. So, how are you guys doing? Oh, Franny, good to see you. New to the group, thank you. Look forward to healing. Aw, Franny, I'm so glad you're here. So of course my happy was that I figured this out, but also I got to spend some time with friends, and it was a good thing. We were able to celebrate a couple of birthdays, and it was a lot of fun. Ooh, you guys, my feet are kind of cold, so I'm gonna get a blanket here. Ugh. No socks today. All right, so let me see. Today we are talking about the narcissist's past. And a lot of people wonder, does the narcissist regret? Do they feel any guilt? Do they feel bad for what they did to you? And honestly, I don't think they do. I don't think they have a conscience. Some people who are narcissistic, now they have a conscience, okay? They're not a full-blown NPD. And they do have a conscience and they do feel bad, but they are caught up in just super bad behavior and they're super broken and they just don't break out of it. They're also toxic, and you don't want to stay with those people either because it's not going to get better. Let me see, you guys. Try to bring up some comments here. So you have to be careful either way. If they're behaving narcissistic, but they're not a full-blown NPD, they still need to get their life and their act together before you should throw yourself into a commitment with them and be reliant on them, and they're not going to come through for you, and they can feel guilty. And we've had this, right? The whole I'm so sorry, and the apology, I'll never do that again. And it sure seems like they're being remorseful, but they're not. They don't care, because what matters more to them is fulfilling themselves. So when the opportunity comes again where they could let you down. I'm going to try to get some lighting in here. Let you down, or they could inconvenience themselves. They could, let you down and get what they want, or they would have to inconvenience themselves and actually follow through with what they said they were going to do. They're going to inconvenience you, right? they're going to let you down. They're not going to inconvenience themselves. They're too addicted to their own pleasures and themselves, and that's very narcissistic. But those who are full-blown NPD, I don't think they have guilt. In fact, what they do is they have revisionist history. They'll go back and somehow convince themselves that it was your fault to begin with, or not their responsibility, or they didn't really commit to what you said they committed to, right? Even though you have it in writing, even though you have it in text, right? Or even a voicemail or an email or something. And they'll still say that, but you misunderstood. That's not what I meant. Not for that thing. I meant it for something else. They will lie and lie and lie, even though you have all the evidence to show them that they did commit. You guys, we want to know that, us being in their past, do they look back? Do they care? Do they regret hurting us? Do they know that they hurt us? And, the honest truth, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be like this Band-Aid I'm yanking off of you. And I don't mean it to feel this way, but honestly, a lot of times they don't, right? But there have been times I've said they feel it for a moment, so they do, right? They feel it for a moment, and what happens is it doesn't stay with them, that regret, because then they revise the history. They revise the history so that they don't have to feel bad or feel guilt. So when they revise that history and they repeat it to themselves over and over and over again, that they didn't do anything wrong to you and they were fine. Problem here, you guys, is that all this revisionist history will not add up. They will contradict themselves. They will be illogical. And this is the part that comes back to haunt the narcissist. Because when you lie to yourself, there's no resolution, right? There's no healing. There's no growth, because all they're doing is putting a big, thick, wet Band-Aid over an infected sore, right? And that infected sore is not going to go away just because it's covered up. In fact, it's going to keep growing, and it's going to gnaw at them. Now, it may not gnaw at them as guilt, right? But it will gnaw at them, and they're going to feel unsettled, like something is wrong, and they just can't put their finger on it. Something is wrong. Something is bothering them, and they don't get it. They don't know what it is, because they're not feeling guilt. They're not feeling remorse, but something is gnawing at them, because the more their brain is fighting itself. Their brain, they know that what they're saying doesn't even make sense. And they're trying to convince you or others, and their flying monkeys and their fan club, right, of what happened in their past. And while they're doing that, their brain also is interjecting itself with memories of real things, the facts, right, the truth that happened about what happened. And it just causes this mental disturbance in their head, which then later on manifests as something that's just not right. And it comes back to haunt them, because they'll have nightmares about it. They'll dream about it. They'll even feel unsettled, right? They'll have bizarre triggers, because when maybe that incident comes up, maybe it was Christmas 2015, whatever, there was a date or an event to it. When they are reminded of that date or that event with pictures, or someone remembers and talks about it, it's going to trigger a bizarre reaction from them that even they sometimes don't understand, right? Because they've revised the history, so they're not to blame, but they don't know why their body is reacting this way. I think it's because your body retains history. Your body retains memories that even you are not aware of, right? It retains a reaction that it remembered it had when you were exposed to something that was uncomfortable or dangerous. So anyway, you guys, this is what happens to a narcissist as well. But the difference for them and for us is that we want the truth. We want to go in and know what really happened. And it's hard. I know it's super hard. The hardest part is finding your responsibility in it. Finding your, what am I trying to say? Not just your responsibility, but what really happened, right? Sometimes you may have blamed yourself too much, so you want to make sure you're not doing that either. You want to see the event for what it really was. And I've given some advice on how to do that, and this is what narcissists will not do. They will not go back and look at what their responsibility was in that event. They will not see that their reaction could have been different, even though other people didn't have a good reaction. Their own reaction is not dependent on that, but they see it as that. They see it as, well, the other person did this, therefore I reacted badly, and it is the other person's fault. Now, let's say back to my breakfast, lunch, and dinner almost, that I didn't stay for the dinner part, man. I'm telling you, I was there till almost, was it 4 or something? I don't know. It was just crazy. So I could have reacted badly, right? I could have said, well, it was my friend's fault for making this last as long and not letting me know they were going to stay for 6 hours, when they invited me. It was their fault for dragging this out and keeping me there. And I could have reacted in a really horrible way and blamed them and gotten mad at them and demanded to be driven home. And you guys, none of that happened, of course, because it's within my own control how I'm going to react. I was getting a headache. I was getting tired. I was getting hungry. Luckily, since we were still in a restaurant, I ordered another meal. And so did they. Everybody ordered a second meal, you guys. This is how long we stayed. So we stayed for breakfast. Now we're having late lunch. And because I thought we were going to leave before having to have lunch. But anyway, so then, so at least I was able to take care of that. And the funny thing is, some people feel like, well, I don't want to get another meal if nobody's getting it. And I'm like, you know what? If you're hungry, get it. It doesn't matter. Like, other people are going to take whatever you do. You're not doing it to show them like, oh, I can't believe I have to order another meal. You're just getting another meal because you're hungry and you're still there. So order another meal. It doesn't have to be contentious. So you guys, when you go back and you look at the event that caused the problem or the big blow up or whatever trauma that you experienced, and you see that you behave badly, right? You see like, oh, I kind of blew up because I was hungry and I got irritable. And so I started making snide remarks, and then I started getting agitated and saying some mean things and being passive aggressive or whatever it was. Be truthful with yourself. Just be honest. And what narcissists will do though is blame the other people. Well, it's the other people's fault why I became passive aggressive. It's the other people's fault why I got irritated. It's the other people's fault that why I was snippy with them. Look, you guys, no matter what they do, no matter what situation they put you in, it's still in your control how you react, right? If you need to just simply extract yourself and leave, do that. Like, walk away, go somewhere else, and that's no big deal. Like, if your friends have a problem with that, that's their problem. Actually, it's not yours. In fact, I was at a dinner party recently where a couple of us got into some, I wouldn't say like heated conversation, but definitely it was passionate conversation. We actually got along and things were fine, but this one friend felt like she had to moderate. Like, she felt like she had to interject and control our conversation and keep us at a certain level that was comfortable for her, I guess. I mean, we weren't shouting at each other. We weren't calling each other names. We were just like, no, what about this? And no, this is wrong. And, that kind of conversation. So we worked it out and we had a really enlightening conversation. Now, this one friend, she couldn't handle that. She couldn't handle this passionate back and forth. She felt like one of us was not allowing the other one to speak or not listening, or, it was her interpretation. That's fine. Her perspective. That's fine. But what ended up happening was she just left. Like, she couldn't handle it, like, emotionally. She had a hard week or something, right? She had a really hard week, and so she couldn't handle not being able to control the two of us. So she just walked out of the room and went to her bedroom. I was like, well, I mean, we saw that and then we're like, oh, is it, and it wasn't just me, okay, you guys. Um, there were others of us standing around and nobody said, I guess we should leave. Nobody was like, oh, did something happen? But we all were like, oh, well, that's weird. Hope she's okay. Maybe she had to go to the bathroom. Maybe she's making a phone call. We don't know. We have no idea because she didn't say anything. So anyway, turns out she extracted herself because it was emotionally too much for her to handle, right? People having a passionate conversation at that moment, it was just too much for her to have that. So she extracted herself. We continued on with our passionate conversation for quite a while. And I think we came to some understanding. Like, we didn't agree with each other completely, which, by the way, is okay. And you can actually still be friends, not agreeing completely with each other, right? So we didn't completely agree with each other, but we were able to at least communicate and explain and clarify and get to that point where we kind of understood what the other person was, their perspective was. All right. And we did come to some other agreements, and we're like, yeah, we're actually kind of on the same page. It's just getting to that page, we have different perspectives. So we got it. At that point, we said goodbye to her. We called her back down. We said goodbye to her. And here's the deal. It doesn't matter what other people think. It just doesn't. Now, we could have thought, wow, what a terrible hostess. How could she do that? Why, how could she just walk out of the room? But here's the deal. She's responsible for her and we're responsible for us. So, I apologize. I'm not sure about the other people. They probably would too, because, we're all good people. Um, so I apologize for not leaving sooner and, thanked her for the dinner and all that. And I think she accepted my apology and she apologized for walking out of the room without saying anything, but she just didn't have the capacity. She didn't have the emotional capacity to deal with what she thought was conflict. And you and I know, we all know people who, and there are times too, I don't like conflict, right? And we just don't want to deal with it. Totally understand that. Totally understand that. You know what? That whole incident could have blown up into this nuclear war. It could have blown up into insanity. But I think all three of us knew, not just three, there were kind of three people, but there were other people too involved in the conversation. But we are all aware that we're responsible for our own behavior, our own reaction, and even our own interpretation of what other people are saying. So, guess what? The very next day, we went out and did other things together. We were fine. So, this is what I'm saying to you. When you look back, you have to examine yourself with truth. Did I do the right thing? If I was contentious, if I overstayed my welcome, if I didn't take a hint, was I being rude? Take responsibility for that and make sure that you apologize for that thing that you felt you could have done better, right? Now the other person, they might come back and if they're not mature, they might come back and be like and act as if you were responsible for more than you were, right? They might come back and say, well, you said this or did that, and I interpreted it as this, so therefore you owe me an apology. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're getting to the point now where they're going to try to control me. They're going to try to manipulate me into taking full responsibility, full blame for everything that happened. And you, in that point, have the right to say no. The bottom line is, it's about maturity. It's about being able to take responsibility for what is yours, and then being able to respond in a mature, respectful, good way. And it's up to the other person. If they don't take it well, then it's on their plate now. It's in their court. You don't have to deal with that. So here's the thing with narcissists, they don't do that. They will go back and they will taint everything to make them look like the good guy, them look like the hero or the victim, make them look like they were just reacting to the terrible situation that everybody else caused for them, that everybody else created for them. And that is the trauma that will continue to haunt them. They will feel like, how come all this bad stuff keeps happening to me? How come all these people keep doing this to me? How come, all these people keep putting me in a situation where I have to lash out at them, never realizing it's still there within their control whether they lash out or whether they speak calmly, right? And maturely express what their needs are. You guys, we all can get to that point. That's the awesome thing. But narcissists are not going to get to that point. They just don't understand why in their past they can't revise it enough to the point where they can be always the victim. And they can never understand that there are any others that are victims. So when they can't understand that they hurt anybody else, they just don't change. They don't take responsibility. They can't even see the truth. They can't see the facts. So when the narcissist tries to keep moving forward and keep going on and on and on, they're going to continue to repeat these patterns. They're going to continue to repeat their behavior that they had when they were with you. It's going to exist over and over and over again. It's going to be recreated over and over again. And that's how their past continues to haunt them. And they're not going to understand, like, why is it every time I get into a relationship, this keeps happening? Well, I remember reading this some time ago, but when you look back and um, you see a pattern in your life and the common denominator is you, take a little closer look, right? Maybe take another look at what your responsibility was in that. If you're the common denominator in every single one of these events, um, then you need to see, like, wow, you need a question. Do I need to change something? Could I have responded better? What do I need in order to respond better? Do I need more rest? Do I need to make sure that I'm fed? That's a big one for me, by the way. I think for a lot of people, hangry, right? Being hangry. If you're feeling like you just don't even have it within you to have the patience, and because you're hungry, just make sure you always have a snack. And if you're around food, go ahead and break away from the group and get food, right? Just do that. Well, you guys, let me see. Yeah, it's called accountability, Stacy. Yep. No responsibility. Oh, volume is low. Let me see what's going on here. It might be your volume, but I don't know that my volume will affect it. You guys, let me know if the volume is still low. Amanda, thanks for letting me know. Yep. Our VZ77, they'll never change, but you can. Yep. Don't just survive, thrive. Yeah. Exactly, Obi. It haunts them when they get old and lonely. And this is what I don't want to happen to you guys. I don't want you to get to that point where you look back in your life and you're finding that you're old and lonely. And you're like, but how come I'm always in these situations and all these situations always end up the same? Well, if the common denominator is that you did a particular thing, you lost your you're cool. I guess, you got angry, you lost your temper. And it's like, well, then how then can you learn not to lose your temper? Like, what got you to lose your temper, right? Do you need to walk out of the room before you lose your temper or say something you regret? Do you need some food? Do you need somebody to kind of swoop in and save you? So set that up ahead of time. Like, tell somebody, when you see me starting to get a little hot, um, can you please get my attention and tell me you need to talk to me privately? Just get you out of the room, right? Get you out of the conversation or that situation. If you need something that can help stop that from blowing up into something big, do that. But you can do that, right? You can look back and see what it is you need. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what is this? Obi says, narcissism in mental health clinics is like church in school. They don't talk about it because you might get healed and no longer need them. Then their family will starve because they have no work. Okay, I'm trying to understand what that. They don't talk about narcissism in the mental health clinics. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. They won't talk about narcissism because it'll keep them employed, because all these narcissists will come in and never actually get help, and their job is then secure. The clinics, the clinicians help. I mean, clinicians' jobs are then secure. Yeah, it's and then but then the words narcissism, gaslighting, all of that, projecting, it is being thrown around a lot right now, you guys, a lot. We definitely are experiencing a lot of gaslighting on a global scale right now. And what I mean by that is with the mainstream media, right? And I'll give you an example, by the way, okay? Right now in the US, so far as I know, unless it's changed recently, if you fly internationally and you're a US citizen, right? And you want to come back into the US after you've flown, you have to get tested before you can even leave that other country to come back into this country. But borders were completely open. The southern border is completely open, and people were told to just march on in, and they weren't even being tested. They weren't even being examined, nothing. And there were so many thousands of them, there was no medical, not enough medical to even handle them. So that is the gaslighting I'm talking about, where they're trying to act like there is a pandemic, but no, we're not going to treat it like it's a pandemic, except when it's convenient and we need to treat it like that. So you got to be careful. You know what? Just because I just said that, I bet this is going to, ugh, I hate it. And that's the other thing. We're not allowed to talk about the obvious, just like Obi was saying, that if we talk about it, then they can't continue on, right? Their job um, will be threatened. So we have to, they got to secure their jobs. So they have to continue to gaslight us. They have to continue to pretend like the elephant's not in the room and nothing inconsistent is happening here. And just keep on trusting us. Yes, we are. That is happening on a global scale, I believe, because people are getting upset. I mean, there's a lot of craziness up there. And the reason I'm even mentioning this, whatever your politics might be, is that you have to follow logic, you guys. You have to continue to look at reason. If it doesn't seem right, and there seems to be a heck of a lot of explaining to try to make something seem right, which isn't right, that just sounds like that whole crazy narcissistic relationship we just came out of. Like, we had to get our head straight by extracting ourselves, by removing ourselves and looking at it from afar in order to see what the truth was. If that's happening to you now, do the same thing in this situation. If something's going on in the public square and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, remove yourself from the conversation. Start looking at evidence. Start looking at facts. Start seeing if there's any logical flow, right? Any logical trail here. So, but the problem is a lot of people are just throwing these terms around because I guess on social media, like this channel and a bunch of other channels have popped up talking about narcissistic personality disorder, right? Because we've had relationships and we just want to figure it out and we want to heal from it. But now everybody's talking about it as if everybody's a narcissist and everybody is gaslighting and everybody's got cognitive dissonance and everybody's projecting. You can't just keep doing that because then you're doing the same thing that Obi is saying about these therapists and clinicians in the health clinics, right? You're not really looking at reality. You want to make sure that you're not just labeling something and someone and then not dealing with the real problem that you might be having with them, right? The problem that you might be having with them, you first got to see what are you in control of, right? What can you do to affect this situation? And if you have any control over it, and if you see that you really don't have any control over it other than walking away, then walk away. But if you see that you do have control over it, then see what it is you can do. Now, a friend of mine was telling me how everybody that she is seeing, because she's a counselor, so there's things that she's seeing out there, and one of the things is the term gaslighting. She says that is being way overused. And I can see that. I can see how people are feeling like they're being gaslit, for one, because they are in the global scheme of things. So now they feel like, what can we trust? Because once you've been gaslit by the media and you've been lied to and told this is not truth or this is truth, and they're reversing it. And that's why we're all walking around like, why is good bad and bad good? Why is up down and down is up? That's the whole gaslighting, the effects of gaslighting from the media. So you're walking around already, your world is turned all over the place. Now you're dealing with people, and these people don't seem consistent either. Well, they're not. None of us are really being consistent right now because we're in this world where the rules and the game and the laws keep changing on us. And we're like, well, what the heck? How are we supposed to keep anything straight? How do we know where the lines are? And then we are going to feel gaslit. We're going to feel gaslit by everybody. My caution here is to not use that term so much, not assume that the other person's gaslighting you. she did ask me then, why, what would you do if you knew, if you had a client that was telling you their perspective, right, about somebody, and they feel like that other person's gaslighting them because they feel like that other person isn't being genuine, is being fake, or has lied about their position or their character. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, I need to know a lot more about the situation. But when we talk about it here on this channel, I don't want you to feel like, oh, everywhere I go, everyone is gaslighting me. That's why you have to be grounded in truth. You have to be grounded in reality. You have to be able, and the best reality is, first of all, to see what you are in control of. Like, what are you in control of each morning? You're in control of what time you wake up. You're in control of your environment, whether you clean up after yourself or not. You're in control of feeding yourself, right? Just get those things straight. Get those things. You're in control of getting yourself to work on time. You're in control of getting your work done, choosing to do your work, or being distracted on your phone. You are in control of those things. So just, and there's so much actually that you are in control of. So start taking responsibility for those things you are in control of. Get them in order. That's how you start to get your life in order. And once you start getting your life in order, you're going to be able to better see when things are out of order. You're going to be able to better see when somebody's coming alongside and helping you keep your life in order, or they're causing disorder in your life. And that's how you're going to be able to better understand if you're really being gaslit or you're not. Everybody thinks they're being gaslit because I think right now everybody's life feels like it's out of order. Everybody feels like it's very tumultuous when they look beyond their four walls of their bedroom. But it's not really. It's a perspective. So this is why it's really important. So once you get your life in order within your four walls, you start to expand. Now, outside of the four walls, what are you responsible for? Are you responsible for, the way you're driving? Are you responsible for speeding? Responsible for stopping at that stop sign? Are you responsible for parking in a way that's not going to cause somebody else, I don't know, like parking too close to them or whatever, denting their car? Are you responsible about your behavior when you're at the store, right? Are you just responsible? What are you responsible for at work? Are you responsible for your attitude at work? Are you responsible for your helpfulness at work, right? And what is it you want to be? Become the person you want to be. That is how you start to put your life and your world in order. A person who's gaslighting you is going to try to disrupt that, right? But just because your life is out of order, and pretty much anytime, if your life is out of order, it kind of doesn't even help others who are trying to help you put it in order, because you're the one who's in control of that. And you're the one who's in control of accepting their help. You're the one who's in control of hearing them. You're in control of what you let in and what you let out. And so there's some well-meaning people who think like, oh, let me help you. But if you're not ready for that help, it's going to seem like they're trying to control you, right? It's going to seem like, are they projecting onto you when they tell you what you did that was wrong, right? And you don't agree with them because you're like, well, I didn't do that. It wasn't wrong. And you're becoming defensive. And then it seems like now you're going to think like they're trying to gaslight me. And I think a lot of counselors are experiencing that from clients right now, because their clients' world is all in disarray. It's all crazy right now. And that's why I even brought up the global thing. And I don't mean to hurt your feelings or anything like that, whatever stance you might have. I'm just giving you facts, right? And I love how someone said this once too. Facts don't care about your feelings. It's true. It's just a fact, right? If I say, hey, you guys, it's sunny today, but that hurts somebody's feelings, it's like, okay, that's up to them to have their feelings hurt about that, not me, right? I can't control the sun. So just giving you the facts here. If you look at facts, if you look at truth, you will start getting your life back in order. When you look at, okay, this did happen, but then you want to blame people for your reaction, you want to, and it's, let me tell you, I'm not saying like that had nothing to do with your reaction. Absolutely, it does. And if you need to be verified or validated, then get that. You know, you have friends or you have this channel and come on and get validated. Yeah, it sucked. You were in this situation with the narcissist and it sucked. The narcissist stood you up. The narcissist took advantage of you. And the narcissist was completely unreliable. And that sucks. So now, you know, we definitely need to spend some time there, right? Because we want to see how deeply it hurt us in order for us to actually heal from it. Some people will say, oh, whatever, no big deal. And then they push it down the road and later on it explodes on them. And then they feel like, oh, I felt worthless when they treated me that way. And I didn't realize it took on this identity of being worthless because of that incident. And you started living out this lie that you're worthless. And that's why we do want to look at things and how it made us feel and get some validation, right? Yes, your feelings are valid. But now after you've gotten through that and realized that you do matter, your feelings do matter, now let's see, okay, how do we fix this? We can't change them. We can't change the situation that they are in, but we can change our choices. We can change how we're going to react. We're going to change whether we're even going to stay, right? So these are things and choices that you can make, you can do, that then sets you on a much firmer foundation. And that's where we want you. Meanwhile, the narcissist, their past is going to continue to haunt them because they never actually deal with it with the light of truth. They don't deal with their past. They don't, they revise their past, right? The revisionist history, so that they can blame other people. And then they refuse to look at the truth about themselves because they don't want to take responsibility. They see the world as something they need to react to. They don't see it as it's a place for me to grow and I have a lot of responsibility and control here. They just see it like, well, whatever happens in this world, I'm going to react to it, and that's that. That's why they never change. That's why they never grow. They just think like all of life is just their big reaction to everything. And sadly, they don't grow out of that. A true narcissist just doesn't grow out of that. So we will see, though, what happens to these narcissists as they continue to age. Oh, hey, Crystal, good to see you. Just scrolling down and through here. Yeah, okay, this is a good question. RVZ77 says, what if you're the common denominator as an empath in narcissistic relationships? Woohoo! Okay, that's a great question because I was even talking about that recently with somebody because when you're an empath in all these different narcissist relationships, ask yourself this too. Were you enabling? Right? A lot of times empaths enable bad behavior. Look at what you could have done differently. And empaths get themselves into trouble and into a lot of pain and repeat that pain continually throughout their life if they don't stop to see how being an empath at times is not helpful, right? You know, this is me too. I felt like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for this person and I want to help them, and you don't want them to face the consequences of their own actions, right? You save them from their own consequences. And you wonder, how come this relationship isn't changing? Well, because it's consequences that trains people, that teaches people, that gives people motivation to change. If there are no consequences, the other person or people just won't feel the need to change, right? What made you change, right? Is it that you get to a certain point where you're feeling depressed all the time, and this depression is not fun, right? And you think, well, how do I break out of this? Because this is not what I want. Well, that depression is a consequence of certain things that you're letting into your life or that you're doing in your life. So if this unwanted consequence is there, it's going to motivate you to then change the behavior. Excuse me, change the behavior. I'm starting to kind of, yep, not. I had a burp, you guys, so that's what I was thinking. Excuse me. Let me have a drink of water here. But yeah, when you see that you're always the empath in all these narcissistic relationships, you're going to want to see, as an empath, did you make it better? Or did you prolong the bad behavior, right, from the narcissist? And that's where you learn, okay, it's fine to be an empath, but you need to be an empath that's going to be helpful, okay? I've known people who are proud to be empaths. They pride themselves on how much they care about other people, on how much they do for other people, on how many times they've saved other people from the consequences of those people's behavior and actions and choices. And I think, wow, you're not helping. You're not helping. And their intent, though, was to help, right? But what they ended up doing was prolonging the narcissist's behavior. They're encouraging that behavior by showing them there's no consequence to it, right? So sometimes if you care about somebody, it's better to step back. And as an empath, it's going to hurt you, actually, right? To watch them hurt. And think about that. Are you then just saving yourself from feeling hurt because it hurts you to watch them hurt? That's, I hate to put it that way, but because I've done it too myself. It hurts me to see somebody I love and care about going through a really hard time. I just want to fix it for them. I want to go in, swoop in, and change it for them. And I'm still working on this part of my personality, by the way, the empath side, that is enabling. Because enabling somebody is not going to help them. It actually keeps them stuck longer. So you want to step back, love them, encourage them while that, but step back and let them reap the consequences of their choices. All right. It's sad and it's hard, but that's how they learn. Because if you come in and they'll come asking you to help too, like, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And it is so hard for me to say no. So I understand where you are coming from. It is so hard for me to say no. But I've also come to the point where I realize it's okay to say no. And because sometimes, here's the other thing, sometimes you feel guilted into doing stuff, even though you don't really want to, right? It's okay to say no. I just can't do that. I don't really want to do that. And leave it at that. But be sure it's not because you're saying no out of spite, or you're saying no because you're being a jerk, or you're saying no because you're jealous, or, whatever the negative side might be to that no. Make sure you're just saying no because honestly, it's not something you're interested in, and it's not something you want to do. And that's it. And it's not to hurt the other person or anything like that. So, yeah. If you're seeing that you're an empath, study a little bit more about empaths enabling. Because enabling, empaths don't want to enable people, but that's what empaths end up doing. Yeah. Yeah. Obi. That's a good theory. That's a possibility. I don't think of it as that. I think of it more as energy. Obi says, everyone has a slight bit of narcissism. It's about finding someone on your level of narcissism. Some have it stronger than us. But the thing is, it's, yeah, I agree that I think everybody has some level of narcissism, because if you consider narcissism just being self-centered, right? Putting yourself first. Self-preservation is one of those things. there are people that would lay their lives down for others, and it's incredible. But there are also times where they could be narcissistic in other ways, like selfish in other things. Um, yeah, but I wouldn't call that narcissism. I yeah, but I totally understand what you mean. Totally understand, because it could be considered narcissism. What I think helps people get better, get along well, is their energy. I don't know if you guys ever watched this guy. It's the dog whisperer. What is his name? Um, what was his name? I can't think of it, but really interesting name. I liked his name. I remember it was a really cool name. But he would say that dogs that along really well have the same energy, and it's true. I think that's really cool. So you know, the dogs that like to hang out and play together or hang together, it's because they have the same energy. Yeah. Aw. Yeah. Bri Shines says she had deep depression, and that's why I want to talk about that, because that's one of the things where you to get out of that depression, you have to start seeing what feeds that depression, right? Does separating yourself from people, getting away from people, not going outside. There's a time for that, but then when you're feeling like I don't even want to move, you have to fight through it. You have to fight through it and get out. If it's sunny where you are right now, like sit in the sunshine. Force yourself to sit in the sunshine a few minutes a day, if not more, right? You're going to see the depression start to melt away. You're going to feel it melting away. When you can sense other things, like use your other senses, like touch, and when the sun is warming up your skin, you're going to be able to focus on that instead of the pain that caused you the depression. And you're going to start enjoying, your body's going to react out of enjoyment of this warm sun on your skin. There's so much going on psychologically when you remove yourself from the situation or the location where it's dark or it's um, not inviting or it's just oppressive in whatever way. Once you remove yourself from there, you start to see things open up, like even going shopping. And right now it's kind of annoying, but just going out and being around other people, like go to a cafe and do some people watching, read a book, watch some comedy. It's interesting when you break yourself out of the common or regular path that you're on. You'll also disrupt the depression. Ah, that's good to hear. RVZ77 says, I turned off the depression when I stopped running from it and attacked it. Like even someone finally starts fighting back their bully. Find the power, fury, and stop that victim mentality. I love it. I love that you said that. So true. Start attacking it. Start making plans. Start having a strategy. Like when when you're keeping yourself up late at night, right? And you wake up exhausted, and now you're pretty exhausted through the whole day. So that night, make sure you get to sleep. Like listen to music or watch a boring movie, or actually watch something until you fall asleep, or read a book. Get into a good book, and you'll find that you'll start. And it can't be something that'll keep you up forever and ever. I sometimes fall asleep to watching comedians. I've recommended this always, dry bar comedy, and I actually watched them last night and fell asleep again to that. But it's sort of like it helps to take the stress of the day off of your mind. It helps to kind of clear your head, to think of something that's not stressful at all, right? And comedians, and you may even start laughing because these guys are hilarious. So it just lightens your heart to the point where you can rest, and then you'll fall asleep. So a lot of times people stay awake is because they're anxious, or their mind is still running, or they're still focused on something that's stressful. So, yeah. RVZ77 says exercise. It gets you out of your head. Yes. Yeah, I like that too. Crystal says it's a mind shift, really. Like, okay, enough is enough. I deserve better. Absolutely. Yes, I love this. RVZ77 says, when you feel that only you determine your own destiny, you will feel free with zeal. Yes. Yep. Just looking through some of these comments. Thank you guys. This is such good conversation happening right here. Yeah. Just because. Good to see you. Says, I tried to help them, but they just want more and more. Exactly. That's the problem empaths fall into, is we get sucked dry when you try to help somebody, and especially a narcissist, and you just feel obligated, and they will keep you tied to them to keep giving and giving and giving. And empaths will do that, thinking that they're helping, but really they're being used, or second, they're just enabling. So be careful of that you don't fall into that. You know, being an empath is a good thing. So let it have good results. Focus that good energy, that good, not just energy, was it power or strength or whatever that's inside of you to do good, right? Oh, what's going on with my picture? So dark it looks like. Well, you guys, our hour is up. I'm going to let you have a few moments to finish the conversations you're having. I'm trying to see if I can get this to look a little nicer. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to let you finish up your conversations and wrap up a few things. Yeah, Obi says, my Narc parents didn't understand why I couldn't get over it so easy, but they don't realize how traumatizing this disorder is. It's like Matrix. You have to experience it to know it exists. Yes, right? Right, Obi? This, I think, a lot of people have woken up to, as if we are living in the Matrix. And it's not just from our personal relationships with narcissists, but it's now have been brought to the public square. And sometimes I feel like I wish I wasn't awake, right? Like Neo. I wish, like, why did I wake up? I was, and actually, by the way, some people might think it's better to be asleep and oblivious and not, and I've talked about being oblivious. I'm talking about I'll get into that in a minute, but people want to be asleep and just go along with the flow and not disrupt anything, and they'll just be happier. But in actuality, you weren't happy to begin with, right? You weren't happy to begin with going with the flow. And even when you look around and you see other people who are just going with the flow, following along with the narcissist, and they're flying monkeys and they look like they're happy, well, that train ride ends, right? That train ride ends in quite a catastrophe, actually, right? Total destruction. And everybody's going to get thrown from it, or it's going to explode. It's just going to be a disaster. So, what you're seeing right now is the train headed towards the cliff, and there's no bridge, and it's just going to fall off the cliff. But before it gets there, everybody's still cheering and having it, partying and having a good time. But you see the cliff that's about to come. So it's better to not even be on the train, right? It's better not to even be on it, rather than say, well, I would at least have that last 5 minutes of joy before it crashed. No, 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 no. Don't wish that. Don't wish that you could go back to sleep to these things. Now, being oblivious to some things, what I do encourage people to be oblivious about is being insulted. Like, the heck with that. Someone tries to insult you, let it slide off of you. Just write it off. Be oblivious to the fact that they're even trying to insult you. You just disregard them. And the funny thing is, they'll be shocked. Like, how come you didn't get mad when I did that? Like, well, because I don't want to deal with you. I don't need to deal with you. I don't even need to react to you. So that's what I mean before when I've talked about being oblivious to things. Yeah. Crystal Jean. God bless everyone. Love you all. You too, Crystal Jean. And my shines, thank you. You're welcome. Yes, right? Crystal Jean says, eyes to see. The scales have been removed from our eyes. Yeah, and trains don't always lead to good places. Yeah, exactly, Obi. Once awakened, there's no going back to being asleep. There really just isn't. So we have to have the power to make the place that we are in, that's reality, better, right? And we have the power. We can do that. Well, you guys are so awesome. I thank you for coming on and talking today. I hope that, I do want to mention more for people who are hoping that the narcissist past haunts them. There are times too that the narcissist is actually thinking about you. Because remember when they do that revisionist history, they will also, what do you call that? They'll also exaggerate how good things were between you and them, right? Especially if they're in a bad place right now. So they're going to pine for you. So that does happen too, by the way. They'll forget that they hurt you. They'll forget all the junk that they did to you. They'll forget how horribly they treated you. They'll actually be haunted by the memories of all the good things that you did for them. And they'll think, oh, I'll just call you back up and you'll want to get back together with them. And that's why a lot of people are shocked when they hear back from the narcissist. After the narcissist dumped them, went back to their ex, got their ex pregnant, married, and then dumped her, and then married somebody else, and then dumped her, and then calls you back. You're like, what the heck? And it's because what happens is they think back to the first person or you, right? Or somebody down the line in their past, and they only remember the good things because they've revised the history to edit out all the things they did that make it horrible. And they look at all the times that you made them feel great. Like you probably might have been the best thing that had ever happened to them. And they, of course, treated you like dirt. But they don't see that part. They just remember that you were really good to them and you did all these wonderful things, and you I don't want to go into all the details, but the bedroom, everything was stellar, right, with you. And so they think they can reignite that. They think that they can come back and just reinsert themselves into your life, and you're going to continue to serve them the way you used to serve them. And that's the past that's going to haunt them because now they've idealized you. They've revised history, and they have idealized the history they had with you. And now it's going to haunt them that they messed it up and you don't want them, and that you have no contact with them anymore. And when they try to contact you, you don't respond. It does haunt them. Those are also things that haunt them. Do they regret hurting you? They don't even remember that they hurt you. But what haunts them is that they feel like they missed out. They're going to feel like they, how could you not want them, right? You had such a great time. And that's why they will love bomb again. And some people will fall for it. And that's where you actually do feel gaslit because you're like, wait a minute. On the one hand, I'm fully aware of all the junk they did to me and all the horrible things and trashy way they treated me. But now, on the other hand, they're treating me like I'm, a diamond and so precious, and they value me so much. And it just doesn't, it's contradictory. It makes you go crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. RVZ77, this is true, says, to heck with them. You're the prize. Live your life. You're free. They're in prison. Take care, folks. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys, blessings to all of you. I hope that this has helped. If it has, please make comments at the end. Let me know that it's helping you. And also watch a commercial once in a while. That really does help my channel. I think I have to continue to get, I don't know. I don't know how I can keep going, but I'll keep going. We'll see how long this all lasts. Blessings to you, and I will see you next week.